For 10 years, Sophia Peters lived in the shadows of her billionaire husband's world. Never invited to galas, never introduced at events, never acknowledged. Dennis claimed it was protection, but when a Venezuelan ambassador needed an interpreter and Dennis refused to mention his own wife's credentials, the truth became clear. He wasn't protecting her. He was hiding her. Then, at one charity gala, Sophia spoke words in a language no one expected, and everything Dennis had controlled began to unravel. Welcome to Mr. Douglas Tales. May you find strength in these words, clarity in this journey, and courage to reclaim what was hidden. Thank you for being here. Your support through likes and subscriptions helps these stories reach those who need them most. Now, let me tell you how one woman's silence became her greatest weapon. The invitation sat on the passenger seat where he'd left it. Cream paper, gold embossing, charity gala, annual, required attendance for board members and their spouses. Sophia picked it up. 10 years. 10 galas. Never invited. She set it back down, smoothed the corner he'd folded. The driver's door opened. Dennis slid in, phone already against his ear. Confirmed for 8. Alone. He shifted into drive. Wife doesn't attend these things. Sophia's hand stayed in her lap. They pulled away from the curb. The invitation caught light from the street lamps, flashing gold every few seconds as they passed beneath them. Dennis ended the call. You saw it, he said. Yes. It's a work event. I know. His jaw tightened. Sophia, I'm not asking. The car merged onto the highway. His phone buzzed twice. He didn't reach for it. She counted exits, 4 to their neighborhood. The invitation slid slightly as he changed lanes. These events aren't... He stopped. Sophia watched the city lights blur past her window. Aren't what? Comfortable. For you. She turned the wedding ring on her finger once. You've never asked if I'd be comfortable. Because I already know. The exit came. He took it without signaling. Their house appeared at the end of the street. Gates, security cameras, motion lights that tracked the car up the drive. He parked in the garage. The engine ticked in the sudden silence. Sophia opened her door. It's not personal, Dennis said. She paused, one foot on the concrete. Then what is it? He didn't answer. She went inside. The dress arrived Tuesday. Sophia found it hanging in her closet, tag still attached. Midnight blue. Designer label she recognized from magazine covers. She touched the fabric. Dennis appeared in the doorway. For Saturday. The gala. He straightened his cuffs. I need you there. The room felt smaller. You just said. Plans changed. He checked his watch. Be ready by 7. Dennis. But he was already down the hall. Sophia pulled the dress free. It moved like water in her hands, heavier than it looked. She hung it back up. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Confirm attendance, Saturday 8 p.m. Dennis Peters +1. She deleted it. The dress stayed where it was. Saturday, 6:30. Sophia zipped the dress, fastened the clasp at her neck. Her reflection showed someone who belonged in ballrooms. She'd belonged in her mother's Kit Peters, university library, that small apartment where she'd graded papers at a second-hand table. Not here. Not in Dennis Peters's world. Footsteps in the hall. Dennis entered, already in his tuxedo. He stopped. Good, he said. Not beautiful, not stunning. Good. Sophia picked up her clutch. There'll be press, Dennis said. Stay close. Don't engage. Engage with what? Questions, cameras, anyone you don't know. I don't know anyone. His expression didn't change. You know me. The car waited outside. Different driver, younger. He held her door without meeting her eyes. Dennis got in beside her. They drove in silence until the city towers appeared, glass and steel catching the sunset. The ambassador will be there, Dennis said. Venezuelan delegation. Trade deal. Sophia watched the buildings grow closer. Why are you telling me this? So you're prepared. For what? He looked at his phone. To stand next to me. The hotel entrance blazed with lights. Cameras lined the red carpet. Reporters pressed against velvet ropes. Dennis's hand appeared at her elbow. Smile, he said. Don't stop. They stepped out. Flashes erupted. Questions shouted from every direction. Mr. Peters, over here. Who's your date? First public appearance. Dennis's grip tightened. He guided her forward, pace controlled, never pausing. Sophia kept her face neutral. Practiced. The smile she'd learned in faculty meetings when budgets got cut and no one asked her opinion. The doors closed behind them. The noise cut off like a switch. Dennis released her elbow. Good, he said again. A woman in a headset approached. Mr. Peters, your table is ready. Which number? 7, center placement. Something crossed his face. That's not what I requested. Ambassador Ruiz requested the change personally. Dennis's jaw shifted. I see. The woman left. Sophia adjusted her clutch. Problem? No. But his hand went to his phone, typed something fast, deleted it without sending. They entered the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers, white linens, centerpieces taller than Sophia. Hundreds of people in tuxedos and gowns, voices blending into sophisticated noise. Dennis moved through the crowd. People noticed. Conversations paused, resumed. No one approached. Table 7 sat near the stage. Place cards in calligraphy. Dennis Peters, Sophia Peters, her full name. First time she'd seen it at one of his events, because she'd never been to one of his events. Dennis pulled out her chair. Sophia sat. The table filled slowly. A tech executive and his wife, a state senator, someone from Dennis's board whose name she didn't catch. They nodded, smiled, returned to their conversations. No one asked, Sophia? Anything. Dinner arrived. Sophia cut her food into small pieces, ate slowly. Dennis checked his phone twice under the table. The senator's wife leaned toward her companion. I heard the Venezuelan deal is nearly done. 3 months of negotiations. Ambassador Ruiz is thorough, the tech executive said. Won't sign until every detail is perfect. Dennis set down his fork. The ambassador's table sat 3 over. Sophia could see him. 50s, silver hair, surrounded by his delegation. Laughing, relaxed, not looking at Dennis. The servers cleared plates. A woman in red approached the microphone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Sophia stopped listening. Dennis's leg bounced once under the table. Stopped. The speeches continued. Donations announced. Applause. Then... And now, a few words from Ambassador Ruiz. The room quieted. The ambassador stood, made his way to the stage. Dennis's hand curled on the table. The ambassador smiled at the crowd. Thank you. It is an honor to be here tonight, celebrating the generosity and partnership that makes our work possible. His accent was slight, practiced. In my country we have a saying. He continued in Spanish, fluid, warm. The room watched politely, patient. Sophia understood every word. She kept her face still. And it is in that spirit that I hope our continued collaboration will flourish. Applause. The ambassador returned to his table, sat with his back to Dennis. The woman in red returned to the microphone. We'll now take a brief intermission before the auction. Excuse me. Sophia's voice carried, not loud, but clear. The room shifted. Faces turned. Dennis's hand moved toward her arm, stopped. Sophia stood. She walked to the ambassador's table. His delegation looked up. Conversations halted. Sophia spoke in Spanish. Ambassador Ruiz, thank you for your words tonight. His eyebrows lifted. She continued. Your saying reminded me of one from my grandmother. El que mucho abarca, poco aprieta. He who grasps at too much holds little. Silence. The ambassador's expression changed. You speak Castellano. Yes. She switched to Portuguese. My mother was Brazilian. She believed language was currency. The man to the ambassador's left sat forward. Sophia returned to Spanish. I apologize for the interruption. I wanted to express my appreciation properly. The ambassador stood. Mrs. Peters. He took her hand. The interruption is most welcome. Behind her, Sophia felt the room's attention like weight. Please, the ambassador gestured to an empty chair. Join us. I couldn't. I insist. He signaled a server. Bring another chair. Sophia glanced back. Dennis sat frozen. His face was carefully blank, but his knuckles were white against the tablecloth. She sat. The conversation shifted to Spanish entirely. The ambassador asked about her family, her studies, where she'd learned. Sophia answered simply, directly. The delegation leaned in. One woman, sharp suit, diplomatic credentials on her lanyard, asked about regional dialects. Sophia described the differences between her grandmother's Castilian and her mother's São Paulo Portuguese. The woman nodded. Most Americans don't hear the distinction. Most don't listen, Sophia said, light laughter around the table. The ambassador refilled her water glass himself. Your husband mentioned you were a professor. Was. You stopped teaching? The position ended. His eyes narrowed slightly. Recently? 10 years ago. Silence. The woman in the sharp suit exchanged a glance with her colleague. And you haven't returned to it, the ambassador said carefully. No. Why not? Sophia met his gaze. I wasn't asked to. The words hung there. The ambassador sat back. His expression was unreadable. Across the room, a phone buzzed, then another. The woman in the sharp suit checked hers. Her face changed. She leaned toward the ambassador, whispered something. He nodded. Then he looked at Sophia. Mrs. Peters, may I ask you something directly? Of course. Did you know I would be here tonight? My husband mentioned it. Did he tell you why? A trade deal. Did he tell you the deal has been delayed? Sophia's chest tightened. No. We've been negotiating for months. Everything was ready to sign, but there was a communication issue. What kind of issue? Our delegation requested an interpreter, someone fluent in both Spanish and Portuguese, familiar with technical language. He paused. Your husband's company said they didn't have anyone available. The room felt colder. We offered to provide our own interpreter, the ambassador continued. But for security and confidentiality reasons, both parties must approve. Your husband declined our candidate. Sophia's hand steadied in her lap. When was this? 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. The same week Dennis had barely come home, when his assistant had started sending her his schedule changes. The ambassador watched her. We were prepared to walk away from the deal. Too many delays, too many obstacles. What changed? My attaché noticed something. He gestured to the woman in the sharp suit. She recognized you from your university publications, academic journals. You'd translated several economic policy papers, Portuguese to English, Spanish to English. Sophia remembered those papers. Late nights in the library. The precision required. The satisfaction when the meaning clicked into place. She sent me your credentials this afternoon, the ambassador said, while I was preparing my remarks. The pieces fell into place. The table assignment, Sophia said quietly. I requested it. The ambassador's voice was gentle. I wanted to see if the company that claimed it had no qualified translators was keeping one at home. Sophia stood. The room watched. She walked back to table 7. Dennis hadn't moved. His phone sat dark on the table. She stopped beside him. You knew. she said. Sophia, you knew. They needed a translator. His jaw worked. It's complicated. I have a PhD in Latin American studies. I've published in 3 languages. I've interpreted for visiting professors, for international conferences. This is different. How? Because it's my deal. His voice dropped. My company. My terms. Your wife. Something flickered in his expression. You don't understand how this works. Then explain it to me. He looked away. Not here. Where then? At home, where you've explained nothing for 10 years? In the car, where I'm not supposed to ask questions? The people at their table had gone silent. Dennis stood. We're leaving. No. Sophia. I'm not finished. She turned back to the ambassador's table. The delegation was still watching. Sophia walked toward them. Dennis followed. She heard his footsteps faster than hers. She reached the ambassador. If you still need an interpreter, she said in Spanish, I'm available. The ambassador smiled. I hoped you would say that. Dennis arrived. Ambassador, I apologize. No apology necessary, Mr. Peters. The ambassador's tone was pleasant, immovable. Your wife has just solved our communication problem. She's not authorized to represent the company. She doesn't need to represent your company. She needs to interpret, accurately and impartially. He looked at Sophia. Can you do that? Yes. Then we'll begin Monday. 9 a.m. My office. Dennis's hand closed around Sophia's elbow. May I speak with my wife privately? Of course. He guided her toward the terrace doors. Firm, controlled. They stepped outside. The city spread below them. Cold air. Distant traffic sounds. Dennis released her arm. What are you doing? His voice was tight. Accepting a job. You don't need a job. Apparently your company does. Sophia. 3 weeks, Dennis. You've been stalling them for 3 weeks. Why? He turned to the railing. You don't know what you're walking into. Then tell me. These negotiations, there are layers. Political implications. If something goes wrong, you don't trust me. That's not, you don't trust me to do this without embarrassing you, without making a mistake. She moved closer. Or maybe you just don't trust me to be competent in front of people who matter to you. That's not fair. Neither is hiding me for 10 years. He flinched. Sophia waited. I built this, Dennis said finally. Everything I have, I built from nothing. Do you know what it takes to maintain that? The control required? And I threaten that control. You're my wife. People ask questions. They look for weaknesses. I'm not a weakness. I didn't say you were. You've treated me like one since the day we married. The words landed. Dennis's hands gripped the railing. When we met, you were brilliant, focused. You had your own life. You asked me to give that up. I asked you to marry me. And I did. I left my job, my research, my colleagues, because you said it would be temporary. You said once your company stabilized, it's never stable. Not in this industry. So when, Dennis? When was I supposed to get my life back? He didn't answer. A door opened behind them. The woman in the headset appeared. Mr. Peters, the auction is starting. We'll be there. The woman left. Dennis turned to Sophia. If you do this, interpret for them, it changes things. Good. Sophia, I'm serious. These deals, they're public, scrutinized. If you make one mistake, I won't. You can't know that. Neither can you. They stood in the cold. Dennis's phone buzzed. He ignored it. I can't stop you, he said quietly. No, you can't. But I'm asking you not to do this. Sophia looked at him, really looked. The man she'd married had been different, younger, less careful. He'd laughed more, touched her more. He'd asked her opinion on things that mattered. When had that stopped? Why? She asked. Because the real reason, Dennis. He was quiet for a long time. Because if you're successful, he said finally, You won't need me anymore." The truth of it hung between them. Sophia's throat tightened. "I haven't needed you for a long time. I just didn't have anywhere else to go." She walked back inside. Monday, 8:45. Sophia stood outside the Venezuelan consulate. Gray building, security checkpoint, embassy flags. She'd dressed carefully. Professional. A suit she'd bought herself online, delivered Saturday night. The same clutch from the gala. She'd kept it. Dennis had left before she woke. No note. The security guard checked her ID. "Mrs. Peters, the ambassador is expecting you." They led her through corridors. Marble floors. Official portraits. The conference room was smaller than she expected. Oval table. Windows overlooking the financial district. The ambassador stood. "Good morning?" "Good morning." His delegation was already seated. The woman in the sharp suit, Alejandra, her nameplate read, smiled briefly. "We appreciate your time," the ambassador said. "Please, sit." Sophia took the chair across from them. "Before we begin," the ambassador continued, "I want to clarify expectations. Your role is to interpret, not negotiate, not advise. Simply translate accurately between parties. Understood?" "Yes." "You'll sign a confidentiality agreement. Standard diplomatic protocol." "Of course." A folder slid across the table. Sophia scanned it. Boilerplate language. Penalties for disclosure. She signed. The ambassador nodded to Alejandra. "Let's begin with technical review," Alejandra said in Spanish. "We'll test comprehension of specific terminology." For the next hour, they worked through contract language, export regulations, tariff classifications, compliance standards. Sophia translated each section. English to Spanish, Spanish to Portuguese. Back again. Alejandra took notes. The ambassador listened, occasionally requesting clarification. Sophia's hand stayed steady. At 10 o'clock, someone knocked. "Come in," the ambassador said. Dennis entered. Sophia's breath caught. He wore the same suit from the gala, slight creases near the shoulders. He'd slept in his office then. His eyes found hers, held. "Mr. Peters." The ambassador stood. "Please join us." Dennis took the chair beside Sophia. Not touching, but close enough she felt the heat of him. "We were just reviewing technical language," the ambassador said. "Your wife's comprehension is excellent." "I know." The ambassador raised an eyebrow. "Then you knew she was qualified?" "Yes. And yet you declined to mention her when we requested an interpreter." Dennis's jaw tightened. "I had my reasons." "I'm sure you did." Silence settled. Alejandra cleared her throat. "Shall we continue?" The ambassador gestured. "Please." They worked through another section. Contract timelines, performance benchmarks. Sophia translated steadily. Dennis said nothing, just listened. When they reached the payment terms, he leaned forward. "That percentage is higher than we discussed." The ambassador looked at Sophia. She translated. "Sí," Alejandra replied in Spanish. "We revised it after the delays. Additional risk requires additional compensation." Sophia translated to English. Dennis's expression didn't change. "That's unacceptable." Sophia translated to Spanish. The ambassador responded. His tone was mild, but his words were steel. Sophia translated. "The delays were not our doing. If your company had provided an interpreter when requested, we would not need to adjust terms." Dennis's hand curled on the table. "The interpreter issue is resolved now." "Yes, because we found one ourselves. In your home." The words landed. Dennis looked at the ambassador, then at Sophia, then back. "What are you suggesting?" Dennis asked. The ambassador leaned back. "I'm suggesting that your company's negotiation tactics have been unconventional, withholding resources, creating obstacles, perhaps hoping we would accept less favorable terms out of frustration. That's not. It's exactly what happened, Mr. Peters. The ambassador's voice stayed pleasant. But here's what interests me. Your wife, the resource you withheld, is now working directly with us. Which means we have someone who understands both languages and, I suspect, understands your company's position quite well. Sophia felt Dennis tense beside her. She signed a confidentiality agreement, Dennis said. Indeed. With us, not with you. The room went silent. Alejandra smiled slightly. The ambassador continued. So, here's my proposal. We continue negotiations with Mrs. Peters interpreting. We adjust the payment terms back to the original percentage. And in exchange, your company agrees to full transparency moving forward. No more delays, no more obstacles. Dennis's throat worked. And if I decline, then we walk away. There are other companies interested in this deal. None with my infrastructure. True, but infrastructure means nothing without trust, Mr. Peters. The ambassador looked at Sophia. And right now, I trust your wife more than I trust you. The meeting ended at noon. Dennis waited while Sophia gathered her things. The delegation filed out. The ambassador paused at the door. Mrs. Peters, same time tomorrow? Yes. He left. Sophia and Dennis stood alone. You didn't tell them, Dennis said quietly. Tell them what? About the company, internal strategy, anything that would compromise. I interpreted, that's all. Sophia, I did exactly what they hired me to do. Accurately and impartially. He exhaled. They think you'll give them leverage. Will I? I don't know. Sophia picked up her bag. Maybe that's the problem. You've never known what I'm capable of because you've never let me show you. She walked to the door. Where are you going? Dennis asked. Home. I have work to prepare for tomorrow. I'll drive you. No need. I'll take a cab. Sophia, wait. She stopped. Turned. Dennis looked smaller, somehow. Tired. I don't know how to do this, he said. Do what? Be married to someone who doesn't need me. Sophia's chest ached. That was never the problem, Dennis. The problem was you needed me invisible. She left him standing there. The negotiations continued for 3 weeks. Sophia arrived each morning at 8:45, interpreted until 6, went home to an empty house. Dennis attended every session, sat beside her, never touched her. The deal came together slowly. Terms refined, language clarified. Alejandra started asking Sophia's opinion on phrasing. The ambassador nodded when she suggested more precise translations. Dennis watched, said nothing. On the final day, they signed. The ambassador shook Dennis's hand, then Sophia's. Thank you, he said in Spanish. You made this possible. I just interpreted. You did much more than that. He lowered his voice. You reminded us that competence doesn't require spectacle, and that sometimes the most valuable resources are the ones we overlook. Sophia felt Dennis watching. The ambassador released her hand. If you ever want to do this professionally, interpret for other negotiations. I know several delegations who would value your skills. I'll keep that in mind. Please do. He left. Dennis and Sophia stood in the empty conference room, papers stacked neatly, signatures dried. Deal complete. You were good, Dennis said. I know. Better than good. Sophia gathered her things. The ambassador meant it, Dennis continued. About other delegations. You could build a career from this. I had a career before. This is different. How? Because now you have connections, reputation. People saw what you could do. They saw what I've always been able to do. You just made sure no one was looking. Dennis's jaw tightened. That's not fair. No, it's not. She walked to the door. Sophia. She stopped. I'm sorry. The words were quiet, genuine. Sophia turned. For which part? Hiding me? Or getting Caught? Both. Neither. I don't know. He ran a hand through his hair. I thought I was protecting you. From what? From this world. The scrutiny. The expectations. Or protecting yourself from having a wife who might outshine you. He flinched. That's what it was, wasn't it? Sophia's voice stayed level. You were afraid that if people knew what I could do, they'd wonder why you needed to hide it. They'd see you differently. Maybe. Not maybe, Dennis. Definitely. She left. The interview request started the next day. A business journal wanted to profile her. A university called about a guest lecture. 2 consulting firms offered positions. Sophia read each email carefully. Dennis watched from the Kit Peters doorway. You're going to take one, he said. Probably. Which one? I haven't decided. He poured coffee, set a cup in front of her. She didn't touch it. The consulting firm pays best, Dennis said, but the university would give you flexibility. I don't need your advice on this. I know, but I'm giving it anyway. Sophia looked at him. Why? Because I want you to choose the right one. The right one for who? Me or you? He was quiet. Sophia closed her laptop. For 10 years, every decision I made was about you. Your schedule, your reputation, your comfort. I convinced myself it was temporary. That eventually you'd see me as a partner instead of a liability. Sophia. But you never did. And at the gala, when I spoke to the ambassador, that wasn't about proving something to you. It was about remembering who I was before I disappeared into your life. Dennis set down his cup. You never disappeared. I did. Completely. And you let me. Because you let me. The truth of it hung there. Sophia stood. You're right. I did. I let you make me small because it was easier than fighting, easier than risking this marriage. She gestured at the house around them. All of this. And now? Now I don't want easy. I want real. What does that mean? It means I'm taking the consulting position. I'm building my own career, and you're going to have to decide if you can be married to someone who exists outside your control. Dennis's expression was unreadable. What if I can't? Then I guess we'll both know where we stand. Sophia started work the following Monday. The consulting firm occupied 3 floors of a downtown tower, glass offices, modern furniture, her own desk with a window view. They introduced her as Dr. Peters. Language specialist, international negotiations expert, she corrected them. Dr. Reyes, I'm keeping my maiden name professionally. No one questioned it. Her first assignment was a German trade delegation. Technical documentation. Contract review. Sophia worked 12-hour days, came home exhausted. Satisfied. Dennis was rarely there. When they crossed paths, they were polite. Distant. He asked about her work once. How's the German delegation? Challenging, but good. Need anything? No. That was the extent of it. 6 weeks into her new position, Sophia worked late on a Friday. The office emptied. City lights reflected off the glass walls. Her phone buzzed. Dennis, can we talk? Sophia stared at the message. Her thumbs hovered. She typed, I'm working late. Dennis, I'll wait. She deleted her response. Typed again, why? Dennis, because I miss you. The words sat there. Sophia set down her phone. She finished her translation, proofread twice, sent it off. Then she packed her things and went home. Dennis was in the living room, lights off, city glow through the windows. He stood when she entered. Hi, he said. Hi. They looked at each other. You look tired, Dennis said. I am. Want me to order food? I already ate. Oh. Silence. Sophia set down her bag. You said you wanted to talk. I did. I do. He gestured to the sofa. Will you sit? She sat. He took the chair across from her, not beside her. I've been thinking, Dennis said, about what you said. About control. About making you small. Sophia waited. You were right. I did that. Deliberately. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. When we first met, you were so alive, passionate about your work. You'd light up talking about translation theory, about the nuance in language, and I loved that about you. Then why? Because I thought if I brought you into my world, into business events, board meetings, negotiations, you'd see how shallow it was, how empty, and you'd realize you made a mistake marrying me. Sophia's breath caught. So, I kept you separate, Dennis continued. I told myself it was protection. But really, I was protecting myself. From your judgment. From the possibility that you'd choose your old life over our marriage. You never gave me that choice? No, I didn't. His voice roughened. And then years passed, and it became normal. You stopped pushing, stopped asking. I thought that meant you were okay with it. I wasn't okay with it. I was surviving it. I know that. Now. Sophia's hands curled in her lap. When the ambassador called you out, when he said he trusted me more than you, what did that feel like? Dennis was quiet for a long moment. Honest, he said finally. It felt honest. They talked until midnight. Dennis told her about the deal, the pressure from his board, the fear that bringing in an outside interpreter would expose proprietary information. But the real reason, he admitted, was that I knew if you interpreted, you'd be brilliant, and everyone would see it, and I'd have to explain why I'd been hiding you. You could have just told them you were married to a highly qualified translator. I could have, but that would mean admitting I'd kept you out of my professional life deliberately. It would raise questions I didn't want to answer. Like what? Like why my wife wasn't at events. Why no one had met you. Why I acted like I was unmarried. Sophia's throat tightened. Did you wish you were? Sometimes. Not because I didn't love you, but because it would have been simpler. Simpler than what? Than being married to someone I was constantly afraid of losing. The words settled between them. Sophia looked at him. You were losing me anyway. Just slowly. I know. And now? Dennis met her eyes. Now I'm asking if there's a way to stop that. They didn't fix it overnight. Sophia kept her consulting job. Dennis kept his company. They started going to dinner once a week. Neutral restaurants, public spaces. Dennis asked about her projects, listened when she explained complex negotiations. She asked about his work. He answered honestly. Slowly, they rebuilt. 3 months in, Sophia interpreted for a Chinese manufacturing deal. High stakes, multi-million-dollar contract. Dennis attended the final signing, sat in the back row. Afterward, the Chinese delegation complimented Sophia's Mandarin, asked where she'd studied. Beijing University, she said. Summer intensive program. Years ago. Dennis stared. I didn't know that. You never asked. The delegation left. Dennis and Sophia stood in the conference room. What else don't I know? He asked quietly. A lot. Tell me. So she did. She told him about her research, the papers she'd published, the conferences she'd attended. She told him about the job offer from Columbia she'd turned down when they got engaged. She told him about the dissertation she'd abandoned because he said they'd start a family soon, and she wouldn't have time. They never had started a family. Dennis listened to all of it. When she finished, he was quiet. I took everything from you, he said finally. No, I gave it up. There's a difference. Why? Because I loved you, and I thought that would be enough. Was it? Sophia looked at him. For a while. But love without respect isn't sustainable. Do you respect me now? I'm starting to. The change came gradually. Dennis started introducing her at events. This is my wife, Dr. Sophia Reyes. She's a senior, consultant specializing in international negotiations. Not just my wife, her full identity. Sophia accepted speaking engagements, published articles, built a reputation separate from Dennis's world. They attended charity galas together. Dennis stood beside her while she networked, didn't interrupt when delegates sought her expertise. One evening, at a diplomatic reception, the Venezuelan ambassador approached. "Dr. Reyes, Mr. Peters." They shook hands. "I heard about the Chinese deal," the ambassador said to Sophia. "Impressive work." "Thank you. We have another negotiation starting next month. Different industry. Are you available?" Sophia glanced at Dennis. He nodded slightly. "I'd be honored," Sophia said. The ambassador smiled. "Excellent. My office will send details." He moved on. Dennis turned to Sophia. "You looked at me." "What?" "Just now, before you answered. You looked at me first." "Did I?" "You haven't done that in months. You've been making decisions on your own," Sophia considered. "Force of habit, maybe. Or what? Or maybe I wanted to see if you'd try to stop me." "Did you think I would?" "I wasn't sure." Dennis was quiet. Then, "I won't. Not anymore." "Why not?" "Because watching you work, really work, is the most attracted I've been to you in years." Sophia's breath caught. Dennis stepped closer. "I spent a decade trying to control you because I was afraid of losing you. But all I did was lose you anyway. Slowly. Until you were a stranger living in my house. And now? Now I'm married to someone I'm desperate to know." The second Venezuelan deal was complex. Energy sector, environmental regulations, multi-country compliance. Sophia worked 16-hour days, traveled to Caracas twice. Dennis managed his company. They communicated through texts, brief calls, but when Sophia returned, he was waiting. "How was it?" he asked. "Exhausting." "Exhilarating." "Tell me about it." So she did. Over dinner, over wine. Late into the night, Dennis listened, asked questions, understood more than she expected. "You're good at this," he said. "I always was." "I know, I just never let myself see it." "Why not?" "Because if I saw it, really saw it, I'd have to face what I'd been doing to you." Sophia set down her glass. "And now? Now I can't stop seeing it. Every negotiation you complete, every delegation that requests you, every article you publish." He reached across the table. "You're extraordinary, and I tried to keep that hidden." His hand covered hers. Sophia didn't pull away. 1 year after the gala, another charity event, different venue, same crowd. Dennis and Sophia arrived together. Cameras flashed. "Dr. Reyes, over here!" "Can we get a statement on the Brazilian deal?" "Mr. Peters, how does it feel to have the city's top interpreter as your wife?" Dennis smiled, stayed quiet. Sophia answered the questions. Professional, composed. They entered the ballroom. This time, people approached her first. A tech CEO wanted an introduction. A diplomat requested her card. Dennis stood beside her. Supportive, not controlling. When dinner was served, Sophia's phone buzzed. Urgent message from Alejandra. Issue with tomorrow's negotiations. Sophia checked the details. Dennis glanced over. "Problem? Technical language dispute. They need clarification tonight." "Can it wait?" "No." "Then handle it." Sophia looked at him. "You're sure?" "Sophia." He met her eyes. "I'm sure." She excused herself, found a quiet corner, made the calls. 20 minutes later, she returned. Dennis was talking with the Venezuelan ambassador. "Quite remarkable," the ambassador was saying. "Most qualified interpreter I've worked with." "She's exceptional," Dennis agreed. "You're fortunate to have her." "I know." Sophia approached. The ambassador smiled. "Dr. Reyes, we were just discussing you." "All good things, I hope." "Always." He turned to Dennis. "Your husband was telling me how proud he is of your work." "Was he?" "Very much so." Sophia looked at Dennis. He held her gaze. It's true. Something shifted in her chest. The ambassador excused himself. Sophia and Dennis stood alone in the crowded ballroom. You told him you were proud, Sophia said. I am. You've never said that before. I should have, a long time ago. The music started. Couples moved toward the dance floor. Dennis extended his hand. Dance with me? Sophia hesitated. Then she took his hand. They moved to the floor, found space among the other couples. Dennis pulled her close. They swayed slowly. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? For 10 years of silence, for making you invisible, for being too afraid to see who you really were. Sophia's throat tightened. And who is that? Someone extraordinary. Someone I don't deserve but desperately want to keep. You can't keep me, Dennis. His grip tightened. I know. But maybe, she paused. Maybe you can choose me. Every day. And let me choose you back. Is that what you want? I'm not sure yet. They danced in silence. The song ended. They stood there, still holding each other. I have another trip next week, Sophia said. Geneva. Trade summit. How long? 10 days, Dennis nodded. I'll miss you. Will you? Yes, Sophia studied his face. Prove it. How? Come with me. His eyebrows rose. To Geneva. Yes, not for the negotiations, but for the evenings, the dinners, the receptions. She paused. Show up for me the way I showed up for you all those years. Dennis was quiet. Then he smiled. When do we leave? Geneva was cold. They arrived on a Sunday. The city was gray and beautiful. Sophia worked during the day. Dennis explored. Read. Waited. In the evenings, they met for dinner. Different restaurants each night. Small places. Local. They talked about everything. Work. Family. The future. On the third night over wine, Dennis asked, Do you forgive me? Sophia considered. I don't know if forgiveness is the right word. What is? Understanding, maybe. I understand why you did what you did. I understand the fear, the control. But understanding doesn't erase the years I lost, the opportunities I gave up, the version of myself I buried. Can you get her back? I'm trying. Dennis reached across the table. I'll help, however I can. Sophia took his hand. I know. The trade summit concluded successfully. Sophia's interpretation was noted in the final press release, praised by multiple delegations. Job offers arrived immediately. Dennis and Sophia flew home. At the airport, waiting for their luggage, Dennis's phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression changed. What? Sophia asked. Board meeting moved up. Tomorrow morning. Why? Doesn't say. He typed a response. I'll need to prepare tonight. Okay. I'm sorry. I know we just got back. Dennis, it's fine. I have work too. He looked relieved. Dinner later? If you're free, I'll make time. They collected their bags, went home. Sophia unpacked, reviewed contracts, made notes for upcoming projects. Dennis disappeared into his office. Hours passed. At 8, Sophia knocked on his door. Come in. He sat at his desk, surrounded by documents. Exhausted. Dinner? Sophia asked. I can't. This meeting? I know, it's okay. She turned to leave. Sophia. She stopped. Thank you, Dennis said. For what? For understanding. For not being angry that I'm working instead of... Dennis. I have my own work, my own life. That's the point. He smiled tiredly. Right. She left him there. The board meeting went poorly. Dennis came home late, tense. Sophia was in bed, reading. He sat on the edge of the mattress. They want to restructure. The company? Yes. Merge with a larger firm. I'd lose majority control. What do you want to do? Fight it. But I'm not sure I can win. Sophia set down her book. What happens if you lose? I stay on as CEO, but I'd answer to their board, their investors. Would that be terrible? Dennis looked at her. It would mean I failed. Or it would mean the company evolved beyond what you could do alone. That's not how it feels. I know. He lay back, stared at the ceiling. Sophia watched him. When I started this company, Dennis said quietly, I had something to prove. To my family. To everyone who said I'd never make it. And you proved it. Did I? Or did I just trade one kind of control for another? What do you mean? I controlled the company. Controlled our marriage. Controlled everything I could reach. He turned his head toward her. And in the end, I almost lost everything that mattered. Sophia was quiet. If they restructure, Dennis continued, I'll have less power, less control, but maybe what? Maybe that's not the worst thing. The restructure happened. Dennis fought it briefly, then accepted the terms. He remained CEO, but now he reported to a larger board, made decisions collaboratively. The adjustment was difficult. Sophia watched him struggle, supported when she could, but she didn't try to fix it. He had to learn this himself. 6 months in, Dennis came home early. Sophia was working from her home office. He knocked. Can I interrupt? Sure. He sat in the chair across from her desk. I had a realization today. What's that? I've spent my entire career fighting to be the person in charge, to have final say, complete control. And I just spent 3 hours in a meeting where other people made decisions I disagreed with, and it was, he paused. Fine. It was fine. Sophia smiled slightly. That's growth. It's exhausting. Welcome to collaboration. He laughed. It sounded rusty. Is this how you felt when you worked at the university? Sometimes. But mostly I felt valued. Like my expertise mattered even when it wasn't the only voice in the room. I never made you feel that way. No, you didn't. I'm sorry. I know. They sat in comfortable silence. I have a trip next month, Sophia said. Tokyo. 3 weeks. That's a long time. Yes. Will you? Dennis hesitated. Would you want company? Sophia looked at him. Can you take 3 weeks off? Probably not. But maybe a week? You'd do that? I'd like to try. Sophia saved her work. Then yes, I'd want company. Tokyo was electric. Sophia navigated the negotiations with precision. Japanese delegates responded to her fluency, her understanding of cultural nuance. Dennis arrived midway through, stayed in the background. In the evenings, they explored the city. Restaurants, museums, quiet walks through Ueno Park. One night, after a particularly difficult negotiation session, Sophia came back to their hotel drained. Dennis was waiting. He'd ordered room service, set out her favorite tea. Bad day? He asked. Long day. Want to talk about it? Sophia sank onto the sofa, told him about the session, the technical complications, the cultural misunderstandings she'd had to bridge. Dennis listened. When she finished, he said, You're incredible. I'm tired. You can be both. Sophia smiled despite herself. Dennis moved beside her. What do you need? Nothing. Just this. This? You, listening, being here. I can do that. They sat together until she fell asleep. The Tokyo deal closed successfully. Sophia's work was featured in international business publications. More offers arrived, some from companies, others from governments. She accepted a position with the UN. Part-time consulting, high-level negotiations. Dennis supported it without hesitation. Their marriage shifted, not healed completely, but healthier. They made time for each other, respected each other's work, chose each other deliberately. One evening, 2 years after the gala, they attended another charity event. Same hotel, different cause. They arrived together. This time, when reporters asked questions, they asked Sophia first. Dr. Reyes, how does it feel to be the youngest recipient of the International Interpreter Award? Honored. Humbled. What's next for you? I'm joining a multinational climate negotiation team. We begin in January. Will your husband be involved? No, this is my work. Dennis stood beside her, smiling. They entered the ballroom. People approached Sophia immediately, sought her expertise, her connections. Dennis stood back, watched. After an hour, Sophia found him near the bar. "You okay?" she asked. "Perfect." "You sure? You've been quiet." He gestured at the room. "Look at them. Everyone wants to talk to you. Does that bother you?" "No." He met her eyes. "It makes me proud." Sophia studied his face. "You mean that?" "I do." "What changed?" "I did. Finally." The music started. Dennis extended his hand. "Dance." Sophia took it. They moved to the floor, held each other close. "I love you," Dennis said quietly. Sophia looked up at him. "I know. Do you love me?" She was quiet for a moment. "I'm learning to again," she said finally. "It's different now. Harder, but more real." "Is that enough?" "For now. Ask me again in a year." Dennis smiled. "Deal." They danced until the song ended. Then they stayed on the floor for another, and another, until the event ended and they went home together. Not perfect, but trying. And that, Sophia thought, was enough. 3 years later. Sophia stood in a conference room at the UN headquarters. Climate negotiations. 40 countries. 6 languages. She'd been interpreting for 12 hours straight. Her voice was hoarse. Her hands ached from note-taking. But the delegates were close to consensus. One more session. Someone knocked on the door. A junior staffer entered. "Dr. Reyes, you have a visitor." "I'm in the middle of—" "He said it's important." Sophia frowned. "Who?" "Your husband." Sophia's pulse quickened. She excused herself, stepped into the corridor. Dennis stood near the elevators. Suit rumpled, hair disheveled. She'd never seen him look so undone. "What's wrong?" Sophia asked immediately. "Nothing's wrong." "Then why are you here?" "Because I wanted to watch you work." Sophia blinked. "What?" "I've never seen you in action." "Not really. I've watched from the sidelines, but I've never sat through an actual negotiation." He gestured toward the conference room. "May I?" "Dennis, this is a closed session." "I know. I got permission from the chief delegate. Told him I was your husband and wanted to observe." "And he just agreed?" "He said any husband who flies 6 hours just to watch his wife work deserves a seat in the back row." Sophia's throat tightened. "You flew here? From Seattle?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you told me about this negotiation. How important it was. How difficult." He stepped closer. "And I realized I've spent 3 years supporting you from a distance, but I've never actually witnessed what you do. Not completely. You didn't have to. I wanted to." They stood in the quiet hallway. "Okay," Sophia said finally. "But you have to be silent." "No. Interruptions." "I can do that." "And you might be bored. It's very technical." "I won't be." She led him back to the conference room. The delegates glanced up as they entered. Sophia introduced Dennis briefly. He took a seat in the back corner. Sophia returned to her position. The session resumed. For the next 6 hours, Sophia interpreted. Technical language about carbon credits, emission targets, compliance mechanisms. She moved between Portuguese and English and Spanish fluidly. Caught nuance. Clarified confusion. Dennis watched, never interrupting, never looking at his phone, just watching. When they finally reached consensus, the room erupted in quiet applause. Delegates shook hands, signed preliminary agreements. Sophia packed her materials. Dennis approached. "That was—" He stopped, started again. "I don't have words. It's just translation. No, it's diplomacy. It's understanding. He looked at her. "It's exactly who you've always been, and I can't believe I tried to keep you from this." Sophia's eyes burned. "Thank you for coming." she said quietly. "Thank you for letting me." They left the building together. Outside, the city was dark, cold. Dennis hailed a cab. They rode in silence to Sophia's hotel. At the entrance, Dennis paused. "I should let you rest," he said. "You flew all this way just to leave?" "I didn't want to assume—" "Dennis." Sophia took his hand. "Come upstairs." They talked until dawn, about the negotiation, about his company, about their life. "I'm thinking of stepping down as CEO," Dennis said at some point. Sophia looked up from where her head rested on his shoulder. "Why?" "Because I've been doing it for 15 years, and I'm tired." He paused. "And because there's a younger executive on my team who would be better at it." "Better than you?" "Yes, she's brilliant, innovative. Reminds me of you, actually." "How so?" "She sees solutions I miss, asks questions that challenge my assumptions." He smiled slightly. "I tried to control her at first. Shut her down. Then I realized I was doing it again." "Doing what?" "Trying to dim someone else's light because I was afraid it would make mine look weak." Sophia was quiet. "Anyway," Dennis continued, "I talked to the board. If I stepped down, I could stay on as chairman. Strategic oversight, but day-to-day operations would be hers." "How does that feel?" "Scary. Freeing. Both." "What would you do with your time?" "I don't know. Travel with you, maybe. If you'd want that." "You'd give up your company to travel with me?" "Not give up. Transition. There's a difference." Sophia sat up, looked at him. "This isn't just about watching me work today, is it?" "No." "What is it about?" Dennis met her eyes. "It's about wanting to spend the rest of my life knowing you. Really knowing you. Not just living beside you." Dennis stepped down 6 months later. The transition was smooth. His successor was excellent. He stayed on as chairman, attended quarterly board meetings, offered guidance when asked, but mostly he traveled with Sophia. Not to every trip, but to the important ones. He sat in observation rooms, watched her navigate impossible conversations. In the evenings, they explored new cities together. Their marriage wasn't perfect. They still fought sometimes, still struggled with old patterns, but they were learning to see each other, learning to choose each other, learning that love without respect was hollow, and respect without genuine interest was empty. One evening, 5 years after the gala, they sat in a cafe in Vienna. Sophia had just finished a week of negotiations. Dennis had joined her for the last 3 days. "I was thinking," Dennis said over coffee. "About what?" "About that night. The gala. When you spoke to the ambassador. What about it?" "I've been calling it the night everything changed, but that's not quite right, is it?" "No. No. It was the night I finally saw what had always been there." He reached across the table. "You didn't change that night. I just finally stopped being afraid to look." Sophia's hand met his. "And now?" "Now I can't stop looking." She smiled. "Good." They finished their coffee. Outside, Vienna was beautiful. Old buildings, cobblestone streets. They walked without destination. Eventually, Dennis asked, "Are you happy?" Sophia considered. "Yes," she said finally. "Not perfectly. Not constantly, but genuinely." "Is that enough?" "It's more than I had before." They walked in comfortable silence. At a corner, Dennis stopped. "What?" Sophia asked. "Nothing. Just this moment. I wanted to remember it." "Why?" "Because 10 years ago I would have rushed past it. Missed it completely." He looked at her. "Now I don't want to miss anything." Sophia stepped closer, kissed him gently. When they pulled apart, Dennis smiled. "What?" Sophia asked. "Nothing. Just thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me. Even when I gave you every reason to?" Sophia touched his face. "I almost did. Several times. I know. But you changed, really changed, because you showed me who you were, and I couldn't unsee it. They stood there, in the middle of Vienna, holding each other. Then, they kept walking, together. Not perfect, but real. And that was everything. 10 years after the gala, Sophia sat in her home office. Same house, different space. Dennis had renovated the entire third floor, created a workspace for her with floor-to-ceiling windows, built-in bookshelves, a desk that faced the city. She'd been there all morning, preparing for a conference. A knock on the door. Dennis entered with coffee. "Thought you might need this," he said. "Thanks." He set it on her desk, glanced at her screen. "New project? UN Climate Panel. They want me to lead the interpretation team for the next summit." "That's huge." "It is. Are you going to take it?" "I'm considering." Dennis pulled up a chair. "What's holding you back?" "Time commitment. It's 6 months, mostly overseas." "Ah. Would that be okay, if I was gone that much?" Dennis was quiet for a moment. "Honestly," he said finally, "I'd miss you. A lot, but I'd also be incredibly proud, and I could visit, and we'd figure it out." Sophia studied him. "You really mean that?" "I do." "What changed? Because 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I would have found a reason you couldn't do it, or made you feel guilty for wanting to." He met her eyes. "Now I know that the moments I have with you are more valuable because you're choosing to spend them with me, not because you have no other option." Sophia's chest tightened. She stood, walked around the desk. Dennis rose to meet her. They held each other. "I love you," Sophia said. "I love you too." "No, I mean I really love you. Not the version of love I convinced myself was enough. Not the love that came with conditions. Real love." Dennis pulled back slightly, looked at her. "When did that happen?" "Gradually. Over years, through all the work we both did." She smiled. "Through you flying to New York just to watch me interpret. Through you stepping down from your company. Through you showing up. I should have shown up from the beginning. Maybe. But we can't go back." "No, we can't." They stood together in her office. Outside, the city hummed. Life continued. Inside, two people who'd almost lost each other held on. "I'm going to take the project," Sophia said. "Good. I'll be gone a lot." "I know. But when I'm home, I'll be here." Sophia kissed him. When they pulled apart, Dennis smiled. "What?" she asked. "Just thinking about that invitation, the one I left on your seat 10 years ago. What about it?" "I never actually invited you. I just left it there, like a test." "I remember. I was hoping you wouldn't ask to come." "I know. If I could go back—" "Dennis," Sophia touched his face. "We can't go back, but we can keep moving forward." "Is that what we're doing?" "Yes." "Together?" "Together." They stood there in the office Dennis had built for her, holding the life they'd almost destroyed, but somehow rebuilt. Not perfect, never perfect, but real, and chosen, and theirs. Sophia returned to her desk. Dennis settled in the chair across from her. "Tell me about the conference," he said. So she did, and he listened. Really listened. The way he'd learned to. The way that made all the difference. The afternoon light shifted across the room as Sophia explained the project's complexities. Dennis asked questions. Good questions. The kind that showed he was genuinely interested, not just being polite. When she finished, he stood. "I'll let you work," he said. "You don't have to leave." "I know, but you need to focus." He moved toward the door, paused. "Dinner tonight? I'll cook." "You'll cook?" "I'm trying to learn. I'm terrible at it, but—" Sophia laughed. "I'd love that." He left. Sophia turned back to her work. Through the window, the city spread out before her, full of possibility, full of life. She opened her laptop, began typing. The invitation still existed somewhere in this house. Cream paper, gold embossing. Charity gala from 10 years ago. She'd kept it. Not as a reminder of what she'd been denied, but as proof of what she'd reclaimed. Herself. Her voice. Her place in the world. And in doing so, she'd saved her marriage. Not by disappearing, but by refusing to. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Mr. Douglas Tales, where powerful stories unfold one moment at a time.